Yeah.
Ooh, we're starting early.
Okay, the City of Marine City Commission meeting is called to order on Thursday, March 20th, 2025 at 7 o'clock p.m. We have a moment of silence to send our positive thoughts and prayers to those in our community that need our support. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And when you're ready, can I have roll call, please?
Yes. Commissioner Bryson.
Here.
Commissioner Hendrick.
Here.
Commissioner Clausen.
Here.
Commissioner May.
Here.
Commissioner O'Brien.
Here.
Commissioner Vorg.
Here.
Mayor Vandenbosch.
Here.
City Manager Reeves.
Here.
And on to item 4 for approval of the agenda. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved. Support.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? On to 5 for public comment. This is the time for public comment. Any member of the public may address the City Commission on any topic. Please step to the podium, state your name for the record, and be heard. No commissioner, department head, or city staff will respond. The city manager will follow up on public comment as necessary. Please limit your comments to 5 minutes, and please direct all comments to me as the meeting chairperson. Please refrain from the use of profanity, and please do not direct any comments to any other members of the public. Is there anybody who would like to address public comment? Anybody? Okay. Hearing and seeing none for public comment, we'll move on to item 6 for approval of the minutes. Can I have a motion to approve the City Commission meeting minutes of March 6, 2025?
So moved.
Support.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. On the consent agenda for item 7, we have the Marine City Area Fire 31 report, the departmental monthly activity reports, and C, the Planning Commission February 10th, 2025 meeting minutes. Can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda items A, B, and C as presented?
I'll make a motion.
Support.
Okay, we have the motion and the support. A roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Bryson.
Yes.
Commissioner Hendrick.
Yes.
Commissioner Clausen.
Yes.
Commissioner May.
Yes.
Commissioner O'Brien.
Yes.
Commissioner Vorg.
Yes.
Mayor Vandenbosch.
Yes.
Carried, Your Honor.
Okay, item 8, for removal of the consent agenda, we have none. And on to 9, financial business. We have expenditures including payroll for $288,421.72. I have a motion to approve expenditures including payroll in that amount of $288,421.72.
I'll make a motion.
Support.
Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Hendrick.
Yes.
Commissioner Clausen.
Yes.
Commissioner May.
Yes.
Commissioner O'Brien.
Yes.
Commissioner Vorg.
Yes.
Mayor Vandenbosch.
Yes.
Commissioner Bryson.
Yes.
Carried, Your Honor.
On to 9B, we have preliminary financial statements for February of 2025. Could I have a motion to receive and file those preliminary financial statements of February 2025?
So moved.
Support.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. On to 9C, the Brownfield principal payment. Can I have a motion to approve the principal payment of $60,000 on the city's Brownfield redevelopment loan?
Making a motion to approve the principal payment of $60,000 on the Brownfield redevelopment loan.
Support.
Okay. And discussion?
I'll just offer, as you look at the memo supplied by our treasurer, this allows us to cut multiple years off interest paying. We have the funds available to make this on the principal. It's good business practice to apply this money now. We'll have enough money for next year to make those payments. And we'll end up collecting on this, I believe, in 2027, if I looked at it correctly. Excuse me, 2029, it would be paid off, so it'll cut off several years. So any time we have an opportunity to make an additional payment, it's in our best interest.
And these funds are coming out of account that can only be really
Correct.
spent on this, so it's
Correct.
not like we're taken from someplace else to
Correct.
do it.
It's collected for it.
Yep.
Okay. If no other discussion, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Clausen.
Yes.
Commissioner May.
Yes.
Commissioner O'Brien.
Yes.
Commissioner Vorg.
Yes.
Mayor Vandenbosch.
Yes.
Commissioner Bryson.
Yes.
Commissioner Hendrick.
Yes.
Carried, Your Honor.
Okay, on to 9D for the investment policy. Can I have a motion to approve the updated investment policy as presented?
So moved.
Support.
Motion and support. For discussion, I believe that the only thing that changed was they added additional Public Act 20 protections.
That's correct. There's a number of additional items under Public Act 20 that protects the city. We included those additions to the investment policy, the same investment policy you had approved previously with those additions.
Okay. Any other discussion?
Since we first had this and looking into how some of these other policies are worded elsewhere, is it possible to add any sort of clause or statement into 1.0 policy about this, aiming to provide the highest investment return with maximum security while maintaining daily cash flow, inserting some sort of statement about into like investment into an option that upholds Marine City's values or mission, something to this effect?
I would recommend against that. It may, first of all, the sole purpose of this policy is to give us guidelines and give people to do the investment guidelines.
Yeah.
Additionally, the reason we revise this is in order to take advantage of another investment, which will be the next item, Michigan Class, which allows us to gather daily interest. We are very careful in terms of, if you're talking about social investment type thing, I assume that's where you're headed
Well,
with that?
my concern, and we've seen it in other communities, investments going into options that members of the public can find controversial or problematic. And if we're locked into always going to the option that is only the highest return, in theory, if we adhere to policy, we can't choose.
Okay, well, we don't always invest in the highest return because sometimes we're not sure what that highest return will be. And very candidly, we can't allow one or more persons to drive that type of investment. So let's say an example, the highest return or the best return over 10 years would be an oil product. And somebody was totally against investment in the oil, well, you'd miss out on that opportunity. Those are the funds we need in order to do the business of the city and carry on. So, I mean, it would get to where you'd have to really pick and choose, and then you can't give that back out to the public to make those kind of decisions. We have a team of investment consultants that review the products and give us a lineup of what they determine, those investment professionals determines in the best interest of the city. And, they deal with multiple cities, and they're very conscious of the fact that they don't invest in things that may draw bad attention to them, if you will, or things that appear to be outlandish. In the old days, there were some investments by a large city in Michigan that were we called social investments. So they invested in projects the city wanted. They needed the pension funds in order to get the project, and the projects weren't sound. That didn't stop the city from asking for that investment. We look for the best product and the best fit for the city with the greatest return because we know that helps the taxpayers out long term in providing the services they need.
That makes sense to me, the explanation. I don't think that's quite in line with the way it's written, that we'll always go for the highest investment return with the maximum security with any of those other considerations. I mean, like what you just described is also best fit for the city. And that's, a strict reading of the policy would not allow for that interpretation that you're implementing. And I trust your judgment, Mike. I want that to be clear.
No, I understand.
The strict wording, I'm a little uncomfortable with after looking at some others. I don't think it's going to cause too many issues. If there's a good phrasing.
Well, I will tell you, the investment policy that we had, they would not utilize, and they turned us down based on that investment policy because they didn't have those additional protections. We may face, this is an accepted investment policy, we may face that where if you add that additional language, they'll say, this locks, we have concern in terms of working with that type of restraint, if you will.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner May,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Brien,
Yes.
Commissioner Rorig,
Yes.
Mayor Vanden Bosch,
Yes.
Commissioner Bryson,
Yes.
Commissioner Hendrick,
Yes.
Commissioner Clausen.
Yes.
Carried, Your Honor.
On to 9E, the Michigan Class investment.
Thank you. Katie, I don't know if you wanted to say anything on this, but basically what this allows, this is an investment tool that multiple municipalities and counties utilize across the state, and they follow your investment policy and basically Public Act 20, which covers what we can and cannot invest in. And the key about this type of investment, this allows a daily interest. So we have accounts that draw no interest. They're stagnant in terms of certain accounts, and they're earmarked for certain things where we can't put them into like a T-bill or a long-term CD. We can place monies into these accounts, whether it be for a day, a week, a month, a 3-month period, and be able to draw interest on it versus the money sitting in the accounts now and drawing nothing. This is our attempt to make better use of the funds that we have and draw interest from multiple different areas. And then as we need the money, it's immediately available to us. There's no penalty for us removing it, no loss of interest. So it goes daily. And Katie and I both feel that this is important for us to drive those type of revenues and not let that money just sit there. Yes, we've started investing in T-bills and other products. This is another step in that same thing. Let's make sure our money's working for us in all areas. So you'll see some accounts that we'll have a pool of money, maybe $100,000 sitting there for something, and we're going to spend it in 60 days. We'll invest it for 55 days and get the return on that money. If you look through the information I provided, many other entities use this product for the same purpose, daily investment returns.
Would you be looking for a motion to allow you to utilize this for a certain amount of money or just as needed?
As needed, because very candidly, we're not sure where we'll use it. And as she daily looks over and we talk about our investments and what we need to transfer, let's say, to retirement systems or healthcare retirement systems or for project stuff, capital needs stuff. Those are we don't have a sweep account, if you will, but those type of accounts where they're sitting money, not drawing anything, I want to try to get some return for those.
Absolutely. So I'll make a motion to allow the city manager and city treasurer to utilize the Michigan class investment option as their judgment dictates.
Support?
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner O'Brien.
Yes.
Commissioner Rohrig.
Yes.
Mayor Vanden Bosch.
Yes.
Commissioner Bryson.
Yes.
Commissioner Hendrick.
Yes.
Commissioner Clausen.
Yes.
Commissioner May.
Yes.
Carried, Your Honor.
On to 10, unfinished business. We have 10A, the goal-setting session discussion.
We talked about this a little bit at the last meeting, and I asked you to think about it. We talked a little bit about using the SMART goal rubric, if you will. Most of you are very familiar with that. And I talked about setting a number of goals, perhaps 5 in total, depending upon what you have here, and that we discuss each of those goals and make sure that they're attainable, that we set a budget if it requires it, those type of things. I did submit to you several ideas I think that would offer good starts, if you will, or the possibility of goals. I'm also open to listening to other goals that you have, and then if you don't mind, I'll go back and forth in terms of that's a great goal. We may not be able to achieve that within a year's time. Would there be a multi-phase goal, or that requires a budget adjustment in order to obtain that goal, or things of that nature, so that we can kind of focus in on what we're trying to achieve, what's the timeline, how do we go about it, do we have the means to go about it, those type of things, and how do we measure it at the end of the period. So I included the list that we kind of ran through real quickly. A couple people said that was some of their goals were on there, and maybe there's others. So I'll open it up and I'll write them down as fast as I can, and then we'll work them out.
I can give you my top 3 if it helps.
Are they on this list or are they not on this list?
They, for the most part, they're on the list.
Okay.
So the first one is obviously to continue the oversight and management of our infrastructure projects, the streets, the clean water, the sanitary sewer, the storm sewers, drinking water, et cetera, but we have to keep our eye on the ball with that. I understand that's going to be a multi-year project. The second is, I know I've mentioned it in the past, I would like to see us do a complete review of our ordinances, to look at them and to go through and say, okay, this one is just not even applicable anymore. This one may not be enforceable, so it needs to be tweaked. Maybe this one's just not doing what we want it to do. But I think, those are the things we really live and die on as a city, and they need to be right. And again, I know that's if we started today, it might take us a year, if not maybe a year and a half. It's certainly is going to be a deep dive, but I think it's an important thing to get done. It's similar to what we did with the city charter. And then the last one is to develop the capital improvement plan for the city. We know we have issues at DPW. We know we have issues at the wastewater plant. We know we have issues basically everywhere. And what are the words here? If we don't get a handle on all of them and get a plan for how to budget for and to fix them, then I think we can get ourselves into some real deep financial trouble real fast. So I think that plan is to figure out what is out there and what's coming is going to allow us to make good financial decisions on how to get it done.
May I offer some comment, Mayor? I think those are all excellent goals. I would ask if the rest of the commissioners would agree with those goals. They are, some of them may go longer than a year, but I think that's okay because most of those things we achieve in phases. So we may end up talking about phase 1 and phase 2 and roll the goal over. So that doesn't concern me as much in terms of the time that we're going to measure. Would there be an agreement from the majority of the commissioners in terms of those 3 goals?
I'm in agreement with those because of the fact that we did talk about creating an ordinance committee to go through our ordinances like we did with the other one, and we just haven't implemented. So those 3, are the biggest ones. And I can tell you, even on the capital improvement plan, even though the fire department was pulled away from here in the authority, we've basically done that with that building. Through the years, we've done the roof, we've done the little bits at a time to keep it from getting into disrepair. It's costly, but we kept after it without having to raise rates. Wasn't easy, but it's got to be done because just like when we found out about the beach bathroom, the roof was almost collapsing on it, and we weren't advised of any of that. So it's really a must on all of our buildings for that. And the same with the streets and the roadways and the ordinance thing. I can agree for all.
So there's 2 for those,
I'll agree with
3 for those,
I'd agree.
4 for those.
I would generally agree, but I would add that without prioritizing employee development and retainment here, the capital improvement plan is going to run into a big problem down the road. And I think that's part of the reason why we've had such problem with the buildings is employee turnover. That's broken down communication, retention, information sharing, and I think that would need to be on the list. If those
So
are
let me add that perhaps, let's finish with these 3, and then we'll add that perhaps as another goal. So in a budget message you received, you may have not had an opportunity to read, it was a couple pages long today. One of the things I talked about a little bit was my focus on infrastructure is more important in my eyes in terms of other than the flashy things. You want something flashy here. And people want their toilets to flush, their water to flow, it to be clean, their streets clean, they want them to be drivable, police to respond, fire to respond. Those are our critical services. In terms of CIP, we have multiple things going at one time. We have the water plant, which is currently under renovation. To a certain degree, it'll require more, but no CIP for that. It's just part of this water main project. We have the wastewater treatment plan with an ongoing CIP that I hope to have here within the next 60 to 90 days. I wrote a RFP for facilities CIP across 9 different facilities, excluding just a couple, but fire is involved, police involved, this building, library, those type of things. That'll be coming to you at the next meeting with a cost. And that's where we're to bring in an outside company to ascertain what is the condition of our buildings today? What do we have in our buildings? What's the condition of the roof? When was it put in? When was this furnace put in? How old is it? What's the serial number? What's the life expectancy? When do you expect it to no longer work? What will be the cost to replace it if it no longer works in 10 years or 12 years? So in part of that RFP that we pay for, and I'm trying to narrow down those companies and make a recommendation, that'll cover facilities. And then there has to be additional additional CIP that covers what I call the departmental level capital needs. Police cars, fire trucks, backhoes, salt trucks, IT large purposes, those type of things that generally you've been budgeting as you go. Those need to also be put into a plan so that we know every 3.75 years we got a plan for a replacement police car. We shouldn't be buying 2 cars at once. We should stagger that, but there's things that we can do. Same thing with salt trucks and all this type of stuff. And then there's a last part of that CIP is when we combine everything together. We put all this stuff together, we throw it on the board and say, okay, we have $100. Where do we allocate the $100 to? Do we put it in the 3 to 5 year period? Do we put it in the 10-year period? How do we spend that $100? What's our immediate goal, and what's our long-term goal? And we divide up that money. This budget process is going to contain a couple options in terms of needed capital items in this next budget year. There's no budget for that. We didn't plan on that. So I have to give you some options how we're going to pay for that. So the budget process will be critical to that. But I agree wholeheartedly, and that's what I'm pushing you towards in terms of a CIP. Now, my last line in that report is, if I do all this work and give it to you and lay it all out, and you pay all this money, you pay $32,000 to Spicer for that one. We're paying, this amount in the water period. This one might be $50,000. If I spend that money and I get you all the reports, please follow the data and put the budgeting. You may not be able to cover it all, but at least budget according to the plan. There's been a past history where we've had studies or things bought from and then we've shelved them, or we ignored them, or then just don't buy it. Don't tell me no, and we won't do that. And we'll just keep going the way we're going. But I agree with you. We're facing a $60 to $100 million infrastructure problem in this city over the next 10 to 12 years. We have to get a grip and deal with each one of these and lay out a plan, a budget plan of how we're going to attack those. It can't come out of the general fund. There has to be specific goals in each one of these areas so we address them. And we may not put as much away as we need, but it'll compound with investing, and then we'll have to supplement it with grants and earmarks as much as we can. But I agree with you. This is probably one of the most critical things you will face in terms of going forward on this board, is how you deal with the infrastructure problems we have today and tomorrow. Literally, that's what we're here for. So, as you can see, I'm a little excited about the CIP thing because I think it's needed. It'll blend over a year and a half. But if you guys achieve that, that'll be massive.
No, and not to get too off the beaten path here, but I know the city of Calgary has embraced that wholeheartedly. And they've actually saved money because now they're replacing equipment not when it dies, but when it's most economical to replace it before you start spending a bunch of money to repair something to get 1 or 2 more years out of it. And I mean, they're to the point they've barcoded every pump that they have in the whole city. So, but I mean, they have again, when they started down the path, they said, okay, we're spending all this money to do this. Whatever the plan comes back as, that's what we're doing, or at least that's what we're gonna attempt to do with the resources that we have. And they have, they really have benefited from it.
I can't, right now, we're Johnny in the dike.
Yeah.
The hole, we don't have enough fingers to stop the holes, so we get to the main ones, we stick a fist in, and we let the other ones flow, and that's how we're attacking this problem. So I agree with you 100%. It's probably, if I had to prioritize, that would probably, besides the ongoing infrastructure program, which we have to keep a grip on, those are probably 1 and 2 in my book, but maybe not yours.
And a lot of these items that you have on here are ordinance issues, and if we have the
The
ordinance.
ordinance is a
Yeah.
great thing. We can appoint a commission or a committee of
we have to get
individuals
going
with
on
the
that,
city
yeah.
attorney to work on that.
You're talking about general code ordinance.
Yeah, everything in the
Not
ordinance.
necessarily zoning ordinances.
No,
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 zoning's
no.
a separate issue.
No, we
Yes.
said we wanted to create a committee for that and have people in the
And
outside come in
yes, I think it's a great idea.
and go
'cause
through it, just like we did the charter.
The one that talks about where you can park a horse needs
Yes.
to go.
How many farm animals you can have.
Right.
So we're good on the.
So those are 3 goals, and then Sean, you offered up retainment. I think that's an important goal.
Yeah.
But let me
I
hear
don't
from
think it-
everybody else
I
and
don't
what
think
you're
it quite
thinking.
falls under the other 3 buckets of infrastructure, ordinance review, or CIP. Where most of these that you listed out, I think, fall under probably these 4, with the exception of public communication.
Is there anybody else that thinks retainment would be a critical goal in terms of setting a goal for this upcoming year?
I would.
I would.
If you don't have the people to do the work, then you're in trouble,
Well,
so,
the right people.
yes.
And
Yeah,
consistency is.
Lisa, I take offense at that. I mean, just let me know and I'm out the door.
It's okay, Mike.
My one feeling is hurt. No tomfoolery here. Come on now.
I think what Sean is stressing is
always good tomfoolery.
the ability to have consistency with good people.
Yes,
Yes.
and I agree.
Right, John? I mean, you're looking
Yeah.
for consistency over time.
I mean, part of that training, for something like looking at Calgary and seeing how they pull this off, that's not just recruiting a new outsider who has experience in another city and is bringing that knowledge in, which can be a critical way of improving, but also the training and development of your team that go out there and get exposed to new ideas and bring those back, and here's how we pull this off, right? And like, Mike, you're new to our community, new-ish still, you still fall under that. And these new ideas you've brought in have been critical for that improvement, right? But the trainings you've gotten, several of our individuals have also started to show great signs of improvement. I think we need to keep that up.
Well, I've told you numerous times, the lack of continuity has hurt you
Yeah.
in terms of department heads and staff. And in historical knowledge, all the way up through projects being stalled or costing you additional money, a number of different things. So that's another goal I would say is critical, is maintain and retain talent and then develop talent to its fullest extent. Add to the pool when you can, retain what you need, and develop the talent you have.
That could be number 4.
Okay? Any others?
I just agree with you on your goals.
Okay.
No.
4 enough? You want another one? You want these by next week, Lisa, or what are you thinking?
I don't think we've covered public communication in any of those 4 buckets. And Jason was here, that'd probably break his heart.
Elections.
Pretty much. No, I mean, I do think that, and this was, when we were hiring city manager, the discussion of public communication came up from one of the candidates, and that was something we were taken with. We spent a lot of time talking about that approach. That was one candidate's sole focus during the interview process. And we have not spent a whole lot of time up here talking about improving communication with the public and expanding that process. I think the idea we have on the list here is televised commission meetings. I think this needs to be some area that we're gonna spend some time on over the next 6 months to a year developing and focusing on.
So let me expand upon that. I know we've talked about it, especially you and I have talked about it.
Yeah.
I am all in favor of televising meetings. I think it's important to our community. I have no concern whatsoever, those who say it attracts more problems than issues. I think a well-formed community, they understand, and if it happens to bring other people to the meetings to question, want to make comments, so be it. I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
I would add in addition, and you have to be careful how you do this, but I would add in addition, there's several subjects I'd like to see limited scope town hall meetings on.
Agreed.
I think that if they're run correctly and the focus is kept sharp and attended to, that they can be very informative from both aspects. I think we can learn from the citizens in terms of what's important and how they're seeing certain message and answering their questions. And also, we have an opportunity to get the word out. Now, newspapers are a dying thing. Social media has proven itself time and time again not to be the answer, okay? And very candidly, there's experts that feel that that's maybe hit its peak and it's already, as we see, dipping into the benign. But I think that we've tried letters of communication, tax time. We've tried a bunch of different ideas. I think televising the meetings and then maybe perhaps recording other meetings and having them on our website other than just the commission meetings. I'd like to see more work done in explaining to people how are your tax dollars used. If we get $1 from you, where does that dollar go? How does that dollar, what happens to your dollar? And why does water cost this?
Yeah.
And if this community charges this for water, why do we pay that? And what is a ready-to-serve fee? There's a lot of people that really don't know, and I don't know that we've done a great job explaining that.
Correct.
So those are the things I would say in terms of community contact or communication that would be important. The only thing I have to caution you with is that there are costs behind the meeting television. There's a significant cost there. It's something we're looking at, we can achieve. I would look for grant help in that, in terms of that area. It's something that I would also talk to neighboring communities to see if we could share that load, and then they could also, I don't know how they'd feel about it. I am talking to one of the communities about sharing services. So that's my thought in terms of communication. I think it's a good thing. I'm positive about it. I asked for that input, but there is a cost involved.
In that, since years ago I put this on TV, and I've helped several other people get it on TV, and I would love to see some of the other meetings on there. Part of this is, now that this equipment is ours, if we could just get some training done on how it all works, we could get, I'm sure we could get some people to volunteer, because that's the way we used to do it before. We get people to volunteer, they'd run it, and then we'd have it put on, because that's part of the cable.
The problem is when somebody volunteers and then they put something out on the channel that's not appropriate, or we
Well, no.
authorize.
This would be using our equipment for our meetings, and that's
Oh,
it.
okay.
That's the way we used to do it before. I would tape the meeting, and then it went on there. I couldn't do anything with it, I just put it out there.
So it didn't go live?
No.
It was a repeat?
It was, yeah.
For some of our other committees or something you're talking
Yeah,
about, right?
but I never could get the rest of the other stuff. I used to do school board meetings, I used to do all of our budget meetings. I always thought those were important, because the budget meetings, I always put on, and then cut that out. The budget meetings are so important, because most people, the whole point comes down to, people can't come to the meetings, but they'll watch it at home when they have time, and that's the whole point. Even if they can't do it live,
Okay.
they can watch it that way. But we used to just get people to volunteer, and they'd come in and they'd use our equipment while we're having the meeting and run it, and that's how you cut down on some of that cost.
Okay. You know what, I'll look at that. If there's enough here that say that should be a goal, we'll look into it and we'll see what would be the budget number in order to support that goal. Would that be fair? Because if I don't have the budget number to support the goal, then I can't achieve the goal.
Would it be appropriate to rank this goal as number 5 in terms of priority and therefore budget cost?
I would agree to that.
Yeah, you could put it in there, yeah. And we'll see what happens with it,
Yeah.
you know. But I know people like Phil
Does-
that comes, he would,
Does the,
would help us.
Mayor, may I just ask a question?
Absolutely.
Does the city manager's report go anywhere besides your packet? I'm wondering, I read them, they're fascinating. But they do provide an extensive breakdown of what is going on in the city, in my opinion. Is there any thought of having that available on the website? The city manager's meeting reports?
It's such a full snapshot of the various machinations going, even if it was redacted to fewer.
There have to be
bullet
some
points.
redaction.
Some of these
Yeah,
are
yeah, it
7
would be,
pages
but-
long, like.
That's a
they're kind of busy.
possibility.
But that's
Yeah.
an immediate
Kinda wordy.
outreach.
Yeah.
Where,
It's full of information, and there's
Yeah.
a lot there.
and it's not adding really, you're just,
No, it makes a difference to me.
right.
Correct.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, I've only seen one other community do that, and it was pretty effective for the public.
Well, it cuts down on a lot of issues with people not for rumors.
Well, it ends questions. I always
Yes.
look at, you're trying to end questions.
Correct.
Like the city manager said, these town meetings, like I can tell you, if you scheduled a town hall meeting that was titled, Understanding Your Water Bill, you'd probably pack the room.
Which is not a bad thing, but
No, it's
there'd be a lot of
great-
misunderstood people, right?
Because there's people who they don't even understand that most of their bill is sewer. So, topical things like that are pretty
Well,
effective.
they don't understand the tax bills. I've had to explain that tax bill to people because they see the increase and I said, no, do you see the increase actually what the
Right.
tax is not?
But these topical things that the
Yes.
manager's talking about, if you select those well, they can be very effective.
Correct. Yeah.
And I think ultimately, the more communication, the clearer it is, the more accessible it is, the more frequent it is, the better informed the public is going to be. That'll cut down some of the problems that we've had.
Correct.
I think where a lot of communities run into a problem is taking time to communicate with the public is a full-time job. It's expensive, it's costly, it's time-consuming, it's hard to get it right. And that's probably where it's dropped off for a lot of communities. It's easier to cut those positions or spend the energies elsewhere. I'd be all for something like this if we can swing it.
Okay. So here's what I have, folks, just so you know. Top priority goal is streets, roadways, and infrastructure projects, continue manage complete project and manage additional needs determined through construction and observation. Number 2, capital improvement plans, citywide analysis, as we've discussed. 3, employee recruitment, retainment, training, development, and compensation. 4, ordinance review and cleanup, ordinances meet fee schedule. We'll go over that. 5 would be a public communication, and we'll talk about the television meeting and scope town hall meetings. That's the fifth priority. So does anybody disagree with what I have, or did I record it wrong?
No.
We're good.
Sounds right.
Yep.
Okay.
Do we need to do any kind of formal motion to adopt the goals?
I mean, if you like, I have them. I can
Okay.
restate them and send them back to you at the next meeting, if you would, so they're in a proper form, and I'll reformat them a little bit, so you have them.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, now to 10B under unfinished business, 300 Broadway facility condition analysis. From city manager.
Thank you. So I gave you the report, and you'll see it's broken into Phase 1 and Phase 2. In addition, I gave you one of the multiple emails that I sent to them in regards to requests or revisions or questions in terms of making sure that we are on the same page. So the final report is the end result, and then you see the questions that I asked for further information. Some of those, they indicate, would cost additional money. I made the determination not to spend that money because, very candidly, we're at the point that the report says what the report's saying. If it adds $2 or subtracts $2, it's not changing the scope of the report, if you will. Phase 1 is phase one. Phase two is where we're dealing at. All I'll do is offer my review on this and tell you my thoughts, and we'll go from there. Renovation total, not including the 20% contingency, not including the 20% architect and engineering fee, is $8,081,100. Adding both those fees, they're $1,616,220, for a total of $11,313,540. So $11.5 million. In talking to a number of different people, I am told that that cost will go up because of multiple things. One, you're dealing with a 100-year-old building, and it has to meet preservation standards. So some of the materials that have to be used, like instead of drywall, you're using plaster. So in terms of the things that they have to put in the building, the period windows, the period doors, the brick tuck work, a number of the things, in order to meet the preservation requirements, you're going to add cost. At a minimum, we put a 20% arc in engineering, and I'm told in these type of buildings, it tends to run over 20% because you have structural analysis needs, you have complete electrical analysis needs, you have HVAC analysis needs, you have ADA needs that require multi-floor tasking from internal and external of the building. So an elevator attached to the outside of the building, platform lifts on the inside of the building. So I'm told those fees, as much as we like to try to keep them under 20%, tend to rise above 20%. We have a couple engineers, I think you probably know better than I. So you'll probably be over $12 million. And the report, this is what it is. At the end of the day, if the report stood on its own merits and said, we can guarantee you this building for $12 million, you have a $12 million building, then that's up to standards for the public to use, then with no business plans. So no renovation for a certain type of use, or no, it's just you put $12 million into it. Now what do you do with it? And in the same token, very candidly, we have to talk about how do you get your return on your investment? How do we achieve the return? How do you get any of the 12 million, or you get the 12 million back? What do you do to maintain the building going forward? We supply fire suppression, heat, lighting. We've had multiple issues there repeatedly with all three of those utilities. I think you're at a point that you need to understand a couple things. One, I talked to you earlier and I gave you a figure on infrastructure needs that aren't going to go down, they're going to go up. And a couple of you know exactly what we're facing in terms of those infrastructure needs that have to be addressed. We have no choice. We're operating under an ACO on one, we're operating in a violation on another, and ACOs are coming amongst other liabilities that we have out there. I need every dollar I can get to put into services to take care of the infrastructure. So I've got to come up with a plan, or we've got to come up with a plan that addresses this building and once and for all deals with the issue. You've had between 6 and 8 engineering studies in the last 80 years on this building where you've spent a lot of money. And this is one of those reports that we buy it, we look at it, and then we shelve it. It's got to stop. It's insanity. It's got to stop. So I want you to think about it. I can come up with some options, I think. I've got a couple ideas. But at the end of the day, I'm going to ask you to make a hard decision on it. Okay? You're going to see our budget. I'm going to talk to you about the issues in the budget. You've heard the goals. Well, then you're going to have to make some decisions. Something's got to give. Because I don't have the ability to put $12 million into this building and then carry it forward. And I certainly wouldn't have the ability to put $12 million in and then be over budget by $1.5 billion or things of that nature. We just don't have the ability to do that. And I apologize. I know there's been multiple efforts, and I commend the people that have fundraised to try to save this building. That's noble. You haven't even approached $1 million, let alone $12 million. You don't have another 20 years.
Yeah, I'd like to see if you can come up with some proposals on this. I realize how passionate some people are in this building, but we've been talking about it for 20 years since the city moved out of there. In 20 years, we've been waiting for money. We did get I think about 1.25 million to do the exterior, which you can see on this report, some of the doors and windows are already shot, so he's right. We don't have another 20 years, and we don't have the money, so we're going to have to be creative thinking, I guess, to try to figure out what's going to be the next phase for this building. I mean, you hate to see it come apart, but I'll tell you, even in here, they talked about the roof, and I don't think they looked at it very enough because their shingles are coming off. And they're saying this roof is in good shape, and there's several on the front and there's several on the side. I can see every time I walk by that building and look at it. Every time we get a windstorm, I wait for another one to blow off. We have to do something. I know the historic group has promised maintenance costs. We've never seen that. I mean, I applaud them on trying, but we can't keep going on this wait and see and hope to God somebody gives us money for it. We've tried for so many grants. All of those have failed. Now we're looking at 12 million, and I'd say it's probably even bigger than that because of the structural part is not covered in this report. So you're looking at it even higher than 12 million.
And we also have some abatement work that are gonna have to be addressed. I didn't want to go into detail, but
Yeah.
if you looked at the report, you saw that as well.
Yes. So there's just so much there. So you're right. It's going to be some really tough decisions. And that's one of the things, people are going to have to understand. We either got to find a solution before the building falls apart, or what is it going to cost? You don't want to see it torn down, but something's got to give, and we got to come up with a better solution than waiting.
First inclination would be to find a route that would allow for a public-private type of investment to save the building and renovate it and put it to use in a shared type of thing, if that's out there, in order, because once it's gone, it's gone. It's an important structure to the city's history. I understand that it's a beautiful building. So that would probably be my first charge, to do that, to find that person or that group that has that ability and has that vision. And when I talk to developers and people in it, one of the questions they ask me, how do I get my return on my investment?
Yeah.
Tell me what I do. It's gonna cost me, I think I can do that building for 10 million. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'll do this and I'll do that. How do I get that return on the investment? What do I need to do in order to facilitate that? And so, but that would be my first goal, to try to achieve that.
So tonight, would you be looking then for us, as far as a motion, just to start, we've introduced now this report in these phases, looking for you to do some research and prepare some options to come back with us, start talking to some people?
Well, yes, give me, say, hey, look, we accept the report, receive and file the report, then give me direction in terms, what do you want me to do with this? You've got the report, what's the steps forward? Do you want me to look into alternative options in terms of going forward and doing something with this building?
So I'll put this out there for discussion more than anything. 2 years ago, we formed that 300 Broadway committee to look at this exact thing. Nothing ever came of it. And that has been kind of folded now into the Arts, History, and Culture Commission. Would we want to send this to them and let them take a crack at it with a hard deadline for them to bring back something to us? this can't go on for years anymore, I agree. This has to get, this can't be, well, we're gonna look at it, and we're gonna keep looking at it, and we're gonna keep looking at this. There needs to be a hard deadline. But part of that, I wholeheartedly agree. Some way, by public-private partnership, something to stabilize the building and make it pay for itself in terms of maintenance and upkeep.
Can I problematize this suggestion by a couple of ways? So while we have dissolved 300 Broadway Commission and folded that work into the Arts, History, and Culture Commission, I do not believe they've fully met yet, correct? I mean, we're still making
Correct.
some
We still don't
decisions
have enough
about-
members or
Yeah.
people.
So I worry a little bit about giving them a deadline before they formally met. While we don't have any representatives from that body on this board, they have, at least directly to me, intimated at various times, they were worried about the move from 300 Broadway to the Arts, History, and Culture, that they were losing their focus and ability to advocate for 300 Broadway. And if we give them too short of a deadline, and the deadline is important,
Yep.
but if we give them too short of a deadline, we preclude their ability to do that work. And thirdly, the consistent complaint or frustration I've heard from members in those spaces, not just 300 Broadway, but the other community activist groups here, is kind of feeling their hands are tied as they discuss and try and make a decision. They don't know some of these things, they don't have this report, they don't know what options we would be approving of. And so if we're charging them with this, which is fair, I would ask, Mike, that you make yourself available in some fashion for discussions with them about options so that they can be fully informed and make, a proper suggestion that because their anxiety seems to have been centered around, we're going to say something and they're going to tell us, well, that's ungodly costly, we can't do that, and just shoot it down. And because they haven't had figures in front of them.
May I respond, Mayor?
Absolutely.
So, I understand that, and part of the problem when you have a committee like that is they don't know what they don't know.
Right.
So, they say, well, give us money, we'll write grants. There's no grants out there for $12 million, and we don't have the time left to do that. Let me ask you this, can we do two things at the same time?
Yeah, that's what I
Can
was
we allow me to do my work and at the same time, this is a public report, it's been made out to the public, it's available, I'll be happy to supply it to them, I'll be happy to work with them.
Polarizing.
What you can't have is this group who's solely focused on saving the building and maybe not perhaps in what's the best financial sense of the city, making agreements or dealing with developers or other people to say, you can do this or that with this building, or we offer this piece, or you can, use this part of the building and pay us for it. It has to be within the scope of providing ideas in terms of how to achieve this nut. So the first thing is there a way through this group to determine how they could come up with $12 million in a short period of time? Because every year that clicks on, it's way above 12 million then. And at the same time, allow me to do my work and come back to you. I have done some preliminary work already, and I think I could bring something back to you at a minimum, with very minimal information, at the next meeting.
No, then I'd just say, let's just let it wait till the next
But
meeting.
I also think it's important what Sean's talking about,
Yeah.
because I don't know what I don't know. Maybe there's somebody out there that has that expertise. It's important for me to save the building, but I'm also cognizant of the fact that we're facing realities in so many other different areas. Let me bring back something. I agree with you, Commissioner Bryson. It's a public-private type of development that saves the building and somehow gets a return on the investment, and we have to finagle this in order to allow the building to exist, them to take care of the building, and the city to profit from that site.
Yep,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm good with
That
just
way, if
letting it.
he does his thing, and then he can always take all that back, and then they can have the discussion, can you come up with a better plan?
Yeah.
And if not,
Either
you know.
come up with it, or could you enhance it?
Correct.
But,
Th-
yeah.
That's a great idea.
Correct. Do it
I
that
think
way.
that's appropriate.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, so we need the motion to receive and file.
So moved.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Do we need
And then you
anything?
need the motion to approve going forward with,
Just
The
direct me to provide alternatives or options for the board to consider, and then bring them back at upcoming meetings.
I'll make that motion.
Support.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. I'm moving on to C, the Paiser project recommendations. City manager.
Sorry, guys. So,
Oh,
this is the outwork of that Paiser. You guys received the Paiser a while ago. We told you that we had some concerns about some missing streets and some streets that were perhaps rated improperly. The work has been done. We've gone back over those streets, re-rated those streets, also rated the streets that OHM missed on the original review. There was multiple streets. And then we got together as a staff and looked at those streets and made a determination what streets could be addressed out of this report. This is one of these reports that we paid for. Let's not just shelve it, let's do something with it. This is my response back to you, I want to do something with it. So we receive local and major road funding every year. And typically, we transfer the major streets into the local streets, and we utilize it for a variety of different things. But we have some money in there, and I've developed approximately 5.5 miles worth of streets that we can address in a phased approach, utilizing our dollars outside of the water main project. So what I want to do is take these streets and coordinate them with the water main project in phases. And then let's say as an example, Frederick, Fairbanks, Catherine, North Parker, 0.21 miles. And I was doing 3 streets in that area. And I could get, and it was just a repave, a ground or mill and cap. And I could get that done for $30,000. I would knock that one off the block and let them do it for $30,000. So typically a complete rebuild is $1 million a mile. So use that figure as gives and take, depending on what's involved. But a number of these streets, in a phased approach, I can start picking these off, so people see their streets being done outside of the water project, and we're starting to address these 1, 2, 3 at a time, maybe a block here. As you see, South Belt River from West Street to South Robinson, 1.66 miles. We could divide that in a couple phases. That one concerns me. There's some bank slippage. There's some other issues there. I'm a little worried about the $1 million a mile on that one. So that's probably one I'd wait for and engineer that one different. But I want to pick off some of these and give you a list and include it in our process of funding that we plan on using a street funding to attack these streets.
So, 2 questions that come to my mind are, first, are you prioritizing the streets that can be milled and capped versus complete rebuilds to try and get the money to stretch further?
The short answer to that is yes.
Yeah, I mean, I figured
I don't have the money for complete rebuilds of all the streets.
No, and at least that way you can save the street before it gets to the point of
That's
having
exactly my thought.
to rip it all out. The second is, I know we have the other issue floating out there about sanitary and storm sewers. Would it be, do we know, I know we're looking at scoping those.
So we're almost complete with phase 1 of the water main project.
Yep.
We're moving to phase 2. As soon as I get the saw back from phase 2, I'll go back to this report, take what streets were in that phase, and then make a determination, is there a need for sanitary or storm repair? I would have those repairs done prior to the repave.
I mean, that's my only concern, is I wouldn't want to do a mill and cap on a road and then all of a sudden we scope it and find out that there's a collapsed storm sewer line, and then we gotta rip it all back out again.
Right. No, that would come first. That's why we're gonna do that saw in 3 phases. 1, 2, and then between the Bell River and the St. Clair River would be the third one.
So to further raise just an additional question on this, some of these streets failed pretty badly. They're poor condition, as all of our citizens know and all of us know. Are those capable of doing mill and cap? Or do they have to be rebuilt for these?
We'll have to go
ones
out and take core samples, we'll have to go out, I'll need an engineer's assistance in order to make that determination. Are we wasting our money with a mill and cap here? If it's at the point where it's borderline, I'm not gonna mill and cap it because the base of it, that's the key of the road, is the base.
that- So
And if it's not good, you're
What's-
wasting your money.
what's the timeline for those, since, as you asked, we're looking at prioritizing some of the roads that we can finish and fix at the cheaper end? What about some of these roads that are in really bad condition? Where do they fall in the timeline of the project?
Well, that's a funding issue, in terms of me having the funding to address when they're in really bad condition, that's a complete rebuild. And then I need to know what the infrastructure is underneath the street besides the complete rebuild.
Right.
So I'm juggling a couple different balls at once besides the main project in order to make this determination. I'm depending on engineers a lot.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that the rough repair estimates and everything for the streets would fall, under that capital improvement plan as well.
They could.
I mean, it'd be a separate section, but at least you have a plan to say, okay, here's where we're going, and this is when we're gonna need money and how much.
Well,
They could.
I'm just raising the concern, as a lot of our members of the public that live on these really bad roads feel that they've been overlooked and are gonna continue to be overlooked. And that concern is just at a flashpoint because of the water project in the winter. We all know the difficulties we ran into and the frustrations the public has on here. I would like to be able to get some sort of direction to them about your road matters, your road is going to get fixed, here's what that looks like or when, or on the priority list or timeline, somewhere in here.
What I'm looking for is the board to accept this PASER recommendation after action report, and then I will work with engineers to identify those roads and ascertain cost in terms of partial rebuild, full rebuild, mill and cap.
Okay.
And then we'll compare that against, with Katie, what we have available, what we coming in, and then we'll determine which roads we can get the biggest bang for our buck.
Great.
I will make a motion to.
We have one more question here.
So are you gonna coordinate with the Water Street one so that we get the best price, since I already have equipment and everything here?
That's my hope.
We've got one street there we redid, and it got all done. It was a beautiful street. The gas company came in and dug up every house and run a new gas main. And that road now is real bad, but I'm just saying that, is there other utilities after we get this done? He's got to come in and tear it up.
We hope we're done.
You know, we can ask them till we're blue in the face, and we asked them on the water main project, and they said, no, we don't have any plans, and one day they show up and say, we've got to replace this gas line from point A to point B, and you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I would love to say, yes, we coordinate that. Sometimes it's a stroke of luck or a stroke of bad luck,
Yeah,
but we'll take that into consideration.
I think there has to be some communication between the utilities that you're not going to come in and tear up our road.
When the gas
After we
companies do
finish it.
that, do they
Yes.
repair the road, or do we?
No, they just
No.
patch it.
We have to cover all
They
the
just
costs of it,
patch.
right?
They just patch.
Look at the line, if you ever go down there, you'll see every little square is cut
Right,
out.
I was just wondering about cost here on, if
And-
that's
and-
possible to push to them after tearing up one of our brand-new roads.
No, and I remember when we did that, and we straight out asked Simco if they were going to go and had any gas work to be done at that time, and they said no. And then they pop out, a few months later, and all of a sudden the answer changes to yes.
Yes.
So,
Well, at my house, it happens to be something different too, but They showed up with, one day a letter was sent to me and said, we're putting a new meter in your house. I mean, they just came over and did it. Said, we're gonna be here, we're gonna do it.
So are we waiting for a motion?
Yeah.
I'll make a motion. Do I have to because for me to put it into words in my first meeting, I'm probably not gonna get it there, but I'll make the motion for Mike to go ahead and get the report that he needs to come back to be able to prioritize what it is that we need
So
to
you
do
don't
for the roads,
Proceed with the Pazer project as recommended.
what she said.
Support.
Well done.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
And roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Hendrick,
Yes.
Commissioner Clausen,
Yes.
Commissioner May,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Brien,
Yes.
Commissioner Rohrig,
Yes.
Mayor Vandenbosch.
Yes.
Commissioner Bryson.
Yes.
Carried, Your Honor.
All right, on to D, computer use policy. Do I have a motion to approve the computer use policy as presented?
So moved.
Support.
Any other discussion?
Thanks for making some updates. Sorry, please.
Yeah, I have a question.
Okay.
I find my notes. The 15-minute policy, if you're away from your desk, I think that needs to be changed to, if you're away from your desk, you should log in again. I've worked at a number of places, and 15 minutes is a long time. I could steal all the information out of there. I mean, if you're in sight of it, maybe we could do something, but if you're going off to the supply room or something, it's way too easy to get into somebody's computer if you don't log off and change information or download information. So I think 15 minutes is way too long.
Does the public have access to any of the computers in a way that they could
No.
get, I mean,
But I-
right, we have them behind.
I hear what Rita's saying. So there's two things. There's out of sight and there's away from the desk, right? So I could tweak that a little bit to, if you're gonna be out of sight of the instrument for any time, you should be off.
Yeah, if you're at the next
If
desk.
you're
and
stepping
standing-
away, but you're still within vision,
Yeah,
but you're gonna be away from the desk for 15 minutes, go ahead and log off too. Or
yeah,
get,
if it's over 15 minutes,
Okay.
yeah. But if you're right there and you can see it, that's a whole different thing than
That's a good
being in the
point.
storage room.
because line of sight is different than
Yes.
total absence.
Yes,
I will make that change.
okay.
I'm sorry, Lisa.
I sent one to you from,
Yeah, we have
Did
it
you
in
look at
here.
that?
It's in
It's
here.
in there.
okay.
It was already in there. That was a good, we have it almost verbatim already.
All right, that was from our former mayor, George Bukowski, sent me an update.
Yeah, it was a good sentence. Any other comments? This was a kind of a whole rewrite a little bit, so I hope it meets with your approval.
Yeah, the rest of it looked fine.
Well, Rita, I left 2 typos in there for you, but apparently you didn't catch them. So I will,
Oh, you put them back in?
I will go ahead and change them on my own.
Okay.
All right, so we need to amend the motion to approve the computer use policy with the proposed change.
I will amend my motion.
Support.
Okay, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Clausen,
Yes.
Commissioner May,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Brien,
Yes.
Commissioner Rohrig,
Yes,
Mayor Vandenbosch.
Yes.
Commissioner Bryson.
Yes.
Commissioner Hendrick.
Yes.
Carried, Your Honor.
Okay, on to 11 for new business. We have 11A, the new business license, or the business license non-renewal for the Hive. And city manager.
So this is a business that has failed to comply with the relicensing requirement. There's been numerous attempts through letters and phone calls and such to get them to make payment or reapply for their license. This one here happens to be an e-business run out of the home, I believe. So Bob and I and Jason had a talk in terms of, well, how do you manage that type of business? First of all, how do you even know? But how do you manage that type of business in a business license? We have no authority to go and stop the business or shut the business down by giving a notice saying this business is closed because it doesn't have a business license. We've asked them to appear today. There was no response to the last certified letter in terms of why haven't you applied. Whether they even have the business anymore, we don't know because nobody replies. But it brought up the bigger point of what are we trying to achieve out of this business ordinance, and then how do we apply it in terms of businesses? Because you have multiple different kinds of businesses. You have online businesses. You have people working from home. You have people doing teletype work from home. You have a number of different, how do you determine then, how do you apply who needs a business license, who doesn't need a business license? And then at the end of the day, how do we put some type of ordinance together, the requirement? So as we discussed this, we felt that perhaps this one might be thrown into that ordinance review, if you will, and we kind of take another look at some of these things and see what are we trying to achieve at this. I mean, I get the idea of an emergency contact. I'm all for that, police and fire. I get that. Something's wrong with your building. We need to make access. Got to go to the owner. Get all that. But in terms of if a business reapplies for a license after they've had the initial one, do they get another fire inspection? Do they get a building or electrical or any of those inspections? What do they get for their cost of their license? What's the value there? And as a business person, I'd say, well, kind of looks like a money grab to me. Kind of, what am I getting? What does that allow me to do? I know businesses that just ignore you and they operate. What's the difference? And when I can't answer that, or I feel that it's kind of misguided, I think it's one of those things we should take another look at and see what are other people doing with their business ordinances and licensing, and then what do we do with those that are out there that we're not sure of? Or do we rework this ordinance, or, collectively decide this is what we want to achieve and how we go about it, and then what do we do with those people that don't license? And then, Bob's given us some guidance, and I think it's good guidance in terms of how to handle this, but we're at a crossroads now. They failed to appear. It was like a show cause. You come here, tell them why you haven't applied. They're not here, but I can't tell you there's even an operation, or they live there.
Did they initially ever apply for one? Is that how you knew about it?
My understanding, there was an initial license. This was a renewal.
Yeah, they had one.
They
Okay.
had one
And
originally.
I looked up their webpage. I mean, they sell clothing and stuff online. And then she gives a percentage to bees. They admit that it's in Marine City, right on their webpage.
Well, their webpage says it's in Marine City.
Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know how,
I think we learned as we looked at this that we have the right to ask these people to show up at a meeting and explain to the commission,
well, sure.
why aren't you renewing your business license? And maybe we learned that because they don't have a business anymore. But we learned we have that authority under the current order. But as we looked at the ordinance as a whole, we said,
Yeah,
there's a couple other things. So what if they don't show, which they haven't? So what do we do now?
yeah,
So we did I had Jason work on first we did a line of phone calls to people who hadn't renewed. Then we did soft letter number 1. Then we did letter number 2. Then we did the invitation to the commission. That was how we were gonna stage it. A good Marine City approach without, coming off like bulldogs on letter number 1. But as we looked more and more at the ordinance as a whole, as Mike was explaining, we started to think, this might be one we want to restructure
yeah.
anyways.
Yeah, because I know a lot of people that have tried to do home businesses, and they got a lot of flack from the city. They had to prove parking, and even though they were really not doing anything
Right.
major, it was computer work. They were put through the ringer on stuff, and then,
Right.
yeah, so
Could we
it
have-
definitely
yeah.
needs looked at.
And at the end of the day,
That's
the,
what we want to look at. We want to look at, because, probably when this ordinance was written, the work world was a little different.
Yeah.
It's yeah.
Bob, don't we have a home occupancy
Yes.
ordinance?
And that had.
And it's, where you can go in and they can only use 25% of the house. They have to tell us what they're doing.
That's
They can't
another one we
operate
gotta look at.
a grow house in the,
That one
in
needs
the,
work as well.
pardon?
That one needs work as well.
Because that's how we treat it. And the other, when I deal with people,
Right.
and they want to do a business, says you can't have more traffic than normal of residents, blah, blah, and that's in there. But the only way you're gonna, it gives you, I don't know, to take them to court. and comply.
Well, and now you have the whole work change situation where people aren't necessarily running a business from their home, but they work from home.
Yeah.
Well, but that's different than having a business. They're
It is.
working for
We
GM,
haven't-
Chrysler, or somebody else
Yeah, I did.
out of their home.
We haven't caught up with that in our ordinance schemes.
Okay.
Commissioner Bryson?
No, I mean, I think that we definitely need to go and redo that ordinance and to make sure that the fees are in line with just the services that we have to expend
Yeah.
for that business, and that, we shouldn't be penalizing a business, someone for wanting to start a business here. And we need to make it easier, not more difficult for them.
Yeah.
So when we get to this ordinancing, I looked through all your ordinances and there's a lot of work to be done. It might be that we get together with the committee and we divide the entire band of ordinances into 5. And then we look at, don't take them in any special order, just take them as they are.
Yep.
And take the first 5th and have a meeting and say, okay, which ones in the first 5th can stay, need to be redone, need to be changed, or what, and work our way off. You gotta go through them all.
Yep.
And the reason you have to do that is because some of them in group number 4 relate back to group number 1. And there's gotta be coordination in the language. You can't have opposing ordinances.
No, but
We need to look at all of them.
yes, and it has, like you said, it needs to be in a small enough chunk that you can actually do it.
Right.
If you try to do them all at once,
You're never gonna
lose your
get done.
mind.
You're never gonna get done.
Yep.
So what do you want to do with this?
I don't know.
We'd like you just to table it and
Okay.
let us put together this ordinance review idea. We'll come back to you with, this is how we want to construct the ordinance review, and then we'll toss it into that pile. How's that?
Okay.
So is that part of the home occupancy ordinance?
No, it is not coordinated with home occupancy at this point.
I'll make a motion to table the non-renewal of the business license for the Hive.
Support.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. All right, on to B, the Historical Commission appointment for the City Commission representative. Are there any commissioners that are interested in doing the Historical Commission appointment?
Don't everybody jump.
I'll do it if you don't have anybody else.
Commissioner Rourke volunteered that she would do it?
I'm unavailable Tuesdays. I can't guarantee I can make it, so. happy.
All right,
I'll make a motion, we appoint Commissioner Rourke for the Historical Commission appointment.
Support.
okay, any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner O'Brien.
Yes.
Commissioner Rorig.
Yes,
Mayor Vandenbosch.
Yes.
Commissioner Bryson.
Yes.
Commissioner Hendrick.
Yes.
Commissioner Clausen.
Yes.
Commissioner May.
Yes.
Carried, Your Honor.
Okay, on to C, the Arts, History, and Culture Commission appointment, and the City Commission rep for that. Is there any commissioners that would be interested in that position?
No one?
I'm interested, but again, a meeting on 5 o'clock, with the way my work is going, that's hard pressed to be always available.
Well,
Okay.
is a later time better?
Yes. If the commission would be able to move it a little bit later.
I would think so, because I always worry about a lot of these meetings being at
Yeah.
5 o'clock. A lot of people can't get back in time for work that, that's why we have them as late as we do. It's not as convenient for everybody, but it's better to allow people to be able to get there, so.
For
look at-
part of my work, so the committee knows, I'm not like sleeping on this, but we've just, we're in the process of launching 3 new statewide committees. I have a standing committee meeting that happens on Mondays, on side of my other duties. So I'm happy to do it, but stretched a little thin. So if any of you are really passionate about arts, you'd bail me out. But if not, I'll do it.
Can I have a support then to appoint Commissioner O'Brien to the Arts, History, and Cultural Commission as City
Support.
Commission rep?
Yeah, and we'll try to get it moved up
Yeah.
for you, a time. Did you get a support?
I supported it.
Oh, okay.
Wait, sorry, Madam
Okay.
Mayor, who made the motion?
I made the motion.
And supported by,
Bill?
thank you.
Roll call, please.
Oh,
Commissioner Rorig.
yes,
Mayor Vandenbosch.
Yes.
Commissioner Bryson.
Yes.
Commissioner Hendrick.
yes.
Commissioner Clausen.
Yes.
Commissioner May,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Brien.
Yes.
Carried, Your Honor.
On to D, the Historical Commission appointment. Can I have support to appoint Scott Pasco to the Historical Commission for a term ending December of 2026?
So moved.
Support.
Okay. No discussion, roll call, please.
Commissioner Bryson,
Yes.
Commissioner Hendrick,
Yes.
Commissioner Clausen,
Yes.
Commissioner May,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Brien,
Yes.
Commissioner Vorig,
Yes.
Mayor Vandenbosch.
Yes.
Carried, Your Honor.
Okay, on to Planning Services Contract Review. Can I have a motion to approve the agreement for planning consulting services with Carlisle Wortman as presented?
So moved.
Support.
Okay, and discussion.
Yeah, I'd like to go back to them and make sure they use the word township.
Yeah, I saw that.
And just go back to them and make sure it's in the scope of work. At the end of their contract, they refer to us as a township,
Yeah.
so we can just get that corrected administratively with them. And I've worked with them in other communities. It's a good firm. See how they switched us to township.
That's right here.
They just.
Any other discussion? Hey, roll call, please.
Commissioner Hendrick,
Yes.
Commissioner Clausen,
Yes.
Commissioner May,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Brien,
Yes.
Commissioner Vorig,
Yes.
Mayor Vandenbosch.
Yes.
Commissioner Bryson.
Yes.
Carried, Your Honor.
And under administrative reports for 12, with the city attorney report.
I'm good, thank you very much.
City manager report?
Just short and sweet. Plan on tentatively a closed session at one of the meetings in April. Additionally, I'm considering asking the board for a mid-year assessment, kind of make sure that I'm heading in the right direction in terms of ideas and thought processes and working with the board, and if there's any issues out there in terms of, I've been here over 6 months now, so I want to make sure that we're kind of walking along in the same path, and for the most part, you agree with the path, and if there's issues or something like that, that we discuss them. I'm trying to determine whether that'll be a executive session or a public session. So I'm not looking for a full-blown review, unless that's what you choose to do. I'm probably that as well, but just so we have a chat, verbal chat, and you make sure that I'm fulfilling what you guys are looking at in terms of goals and that, and if I've got to make any adjustments to that, or if you bring up something that I might want to reply to. That's it.
All right. Thank you. Okay, reports from department heads. We have several in attendance tonight.
I have two things. One, new hire started this morning. Mike Leeson is his name, comes to us, 2 years experience out of the city of Detroit. Younger gentleman, hopefully we can, go to what Commissioner Bryan says, you get some retainment, we keep him stick around for a while. But with this younger generation, I think we're going to be chasing some money. So we're going to keep him as long as we can, try to give him the training that he needs to hopefully get him to stay, and hopefully he falls in love with the city. The second thing that I have is, as a department head, we always hear you guys thank us for the work we do. And listening to you guys talk tonight about the very contentious topic of the old City Hall, 300 Broadway, and all the infrastructure projects, I actually see you guys kind of smiling about it and having great conversations about it. As a department head, I very want to publicly thank you for, your leadership and what you're doing right now. Just to see you guys getting along and having these discussions is outstanding to see on my end, not only as a citizen and an employee of 24 years. So I applaud your guys' effort, and please continue the good work. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
I'd like to personally say you're welcome. No, I always say it because my first day. That's hilarious.
Chief Slingster? Ditto.
Well said.
Very nice.
No, today we had our ISO rating for the city, the townships. City Manager Reed should be receiving an email roughly about 6 weeks from now to see if we can move forward. insurance ratings for the cities.
Great.
Everything went very well. He said it was a fantastic visit today.
Oh, good news.
Not surprised.
Okay, and Katie, you're sure?
Oh, yeah, I'm just full blown into the budget, trying to
Oh, yeah.
get it
Yeah.
going for you, but, I agree, a lot of the goals you guys set today are the same goals I had. And honestly, would help me with making decisions for the future with the finances, so
Yeah.
I'm just thankful you're moving that direction as well. Guidance, it's hard to make decisions on the financial side when you're not sure if everybody's on the same page.
Yep.
Appreciate that.
I have Jason on the line to talk about elections. No, he's passing this. He's passing.
All right, and we'll go to Commissioner Privilege Liaison Reports, and we'll start with Commissioner Clausen.
I have to apologize. I didn't attend the planning commission meeting. Somehow my calendar got messed up and I missed it, and I didn't realize it till after it was done. So I don't have a report on that. I'm not sure if we even had a quorum, so I'm sorry that I missed it. I don't like to miss any meetings, but there was other conflicts that I had at that time, so. Thank you.
Commissioner Bryson.
Just welcome to Commissioner May. And
Thank
welcome
you.
to the fun.
Thank you, thank you,
That's it.
thank you, thank you.
Commissioner O'Brien.
Well, thank you for the appointment to the AHC. I relish the opportunity. Thank you. No, I have ambitions for what this can do and ways that it can help different sectors of the city and take the passion that so many activists and citizens have brought forward to the community. I'm open to all of your feedback, the community's feedback of what you want to see on this thing. I think it's a space where we can make a real big difference right now in a way that'll matter to people. So I am looking forward to the work that we can do there. As a recently new commissioner, welcome aboard.
Thank you.
One thing that would have helped me in the beginning find my footing, and I invite us to consider this if it helps you at all, but on these packets that we do now with all the section cover pages, there's room for recommended action. And sometimes we get clear recommended action, sometimes we don't. But having some motions worded as like what we recommend to make would go a long way in when I was first starting, making me comfortable stepping out and making a recommendation. And perhaps that would help for you as well, even if it's just seeing what some of these would be phrased at. If you're not the one making it, or if we go in a different direction, it can be helpful. I don't like being told thank you and gratitude. It really makes me uncomfortable. Thank you for saying it, but I want to hold space while we get to debate and make decisions up here and vote on things. All these actions that are carried out, every positive thing that happens in the city is someone doing that day in and day out, and the public does not get to see them up here. We don't say their names. They rarely get thanked in any meaningful way other than kind of our passing words here and maybe some members of the public. But government works because a lot of people put in really hard efforts. It's their livelihood and their passion. That day-to-day job that they do is what makes a difference in all of our lives, including those of us up here. We could not do any of this work without an immense amount of labor from staff and employees that are giving us so much of their lives. And so really, thanks, but the gratitude is to all of you that keep these wheels turning and make everything happen for us up here and in the community. That's all.
Thank you. Commissioner May.
I would just like to say I'm excited. It has been on my mind for quite some time, joining the commission board, but I'll echo what Chief Hislop said. I think that given the people that are in the seats that they are right now and the direction that the city is going in, I'm incredibly confident that in no time, Marine City will be on the map for different things, based on the direction that we're going. So thank you. I appreciate any tips and trades and elbow nudges if I need it, or whatever the case may be, but I just look forward to working with everybody and working for the city, most importantly.
Commissioner Rory?
I'd just like to welcome Commissioner May. And the other thing is to remind everybody of the Community Shred Day on April 12th from 10:30 to 11:30. And that's a big project of Jason's, and there's a request for
Easter.
Easter stuff,
Right.
right? So that would be great if you'd bring that. It's not required, but it would be really nice if everybody would donate something. And it doesn't have to be eggs, so. Yeah. Unless you want to
Yeah,
bring the
chocolate's probably
plastic
cheaper now,
kind
so.
or the chocolate kind, that would be really nice. All right, that's all.
Thank you. Commissioner Hendrick?
All right, I've got a couple things. The Old Newsboys is of Marine City is going to have a pizza fundraiser. It's going to be at Anita's Uptown on Wednesday, April 2nd, from 5 to 8 p.m. Includes pizza and breadsticks. It's $12 for adults, $8 for kids, 8 and under. It's a cash-only event. Drinks are extra, and tips are not included, so tip the servers. And we have tons of 50/50 basket raffles that are going to be available. So hopefully everybody can make that. It's always a good time, lots of good food. The Lions Club also is going to have a craft and vendor show April 5th from 10 to 3 at the Guy Community Center, formerly the Lions Club, at 545 Ward Street. Last thing is I just want to say it's hard to believe it's been 6 months since you've been here. And I'm going to tell everybody, I've been doing this a long time, and I've seen a lot of city managers come and go. But I'm going to tell you, it's just phenomenal, the volume of work that you're doing for this city and the amount of the mess that you're taking care of, fixing, and getting us back on track. It's been years. I mean, just years. So all I can say is I so appreciate every single thing you do. The volume of information we get, the reports, everything. No one has ever done this much for this community. That's all I can tell you.
Thank you. Just hold on, we're going to speed up.
Oh, I know. That's good. That's
They
good.
say no, but I say let's go.
Doesn't get any better, let's get out of here.
It's all right.
Well, I don't know how to follow that, but just a couple quick things. A CED meeting is next week on Wednesday, the 26th, it's our Community Economic Development Board. And I would also like to welcome Commissioner May and thank you for applying and putting yourself
Thank you.
out there to be with us. and Make these
Thank you.
decisions with us.
Yeah.
Appreciate
Thanks.
it. All right, and with that, can I get a
I'll make a motion to adjourn. You don't even have to say
All in
it.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.